Welcome to the channel. In this episode we'll be going through this John Deere Hydro 175, which is 12 horse, nothing big, nothing fancy. It just needed long overdue maintenance. This thing was bought 35 years ago, and other than oil changes, the occasional tire and belts, it's never seen any full repairs or maintenance on it. So I decided to go through it since the deck height was off of adjustment and things are just getting a little bit out of whack. So it was due. What I did in this thing here was cleaned up the linkages, welded them. They were all egg shaped, all where the pins went through. So I welded them up and reshaped them, and the pins were also worn, so I had to build those up and get them back to size to make them tight again. The front axle had to be all done. It was really worn out. It was hard to steer. The whole axle beam was moving back and forth, and then the actual spindles were doing the same thing. They were just flopping all over the place. So I had to machine that, build spindle bushings, and manufacture walking beam front steering arm bushings as well. The tires were replaced not long ago, so I didn't touch that. The belts and oil was changed. All the linkages were done. The seat cover had a tear in it, so I tried something different. I've never tried it before, and I'm not too sure how well it's going to work. I just repaired the seat, took the cover off, put a backing on it, and I used Plasti Dip to fill in the gap. So far it looks pretty good. What else? I extended the trailer hitch. It was worn out for one thing, and everything's flopping back and forth in there. So I had to extend it because when I towed my trailer, I stored it in the back of the yard, and when I wanted, I used a tractor to pull it out. The trailer hitch locking lever was too high and was getting jammed on the fuel tank. So I extended it out and reinforced it to take care of that. The engine wasn't really touched. I just adjusted the valve. Since this has a Kawasaki FC420, it seems like the parts are getting a little obsolete, so I decided not to go in too deep on that. As far as the hydrostatic drive goes, same with that. Most of the repair procedures are contact your John Deere dealer, and I didn't want to spend $3,000 or $4,000 getting a John Deere dealer to do the repairs back there. So I just sealed the best I could, and I replaced the oil, and it seems to run okay there now. Let's see, that's about it, I think. Let's go into the build, and we'll see what happens. Here's a John Deere 175 Hydro before starting to do anything with it. This was bought in 1987, and other than regular maintenance, hasn't been touched, so it's time. The motor's starting to knock a little bit, just a wee bit, nothing alarming, but I want to get it before any damage is done. This has been a good machine. Like I say, I haven't done anything to it. The deck is starting to be uneven, so I'm sure the bushings are all worn out. The steering is really stiff, again, bushings. Kingpins, I guess. Hydrostatic's starting to make a little bit of noise, and I'm not too sure it's a hydrostatic drive or the rear end, the final drive itself, but I'll have a look at that. So this is it. Time to start tearing it apart and starting a rebuild. Trying to pull this wheel off the hub, it became impossible, and I remember that the last time I changed the tire, I couldn't get it off again. So I replaced the tire while it was still mounted and in the same position it is in right now. So I'm going to have to cut the wheel section off of the hub section in an effort to get access to split the hub and then pull it off, because I can't change the seal with the wheel on there. So it's going to be a long process just for one wheel. The other one came off nice, but this one is being a pain. The front axle is pretty much shot. The walking beam pivots are just shot. So I have to rebuild that. And then the spindles, kingpin ends. Let's see if I can get a shot here. Those are really shot. This thing was really hard to steer, so I'll have to rebuild that too. Hopefully it works out. I don't have the proper stuff to do it, but I did find threaded rod that's correct for the walking beam, and I've got some bushings for the spindle. Movement. Kingpin bushings are pressed in, reamed out, and everything fits nice and tight. Not too tight. Both sides, top and bottom. Now to tangle the, I guess you'd call this a walking beam pivots, where the thread area is really completely shot. It's just like, oops. That's not going to hold anything. So the beam was walking back and forth and making steering very difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this section here, and rather than trying to get a full-size stock and thread it, I just got some threaded rod of the right size. It's 7/8 coarse thread. And what I'll do is I'm going to modify the end pieces. Well, I guess they're probably called bushings in this case, with the proper nuts to make it work. So let's see what happens. I got to cut out that center beam first, or center, I guess, whatever that's called. Well, the old shaft is cut out of there. That was a big job. It's welded on top as well as one end. The top weld kind of caught me by surprise, but it came off. I had to drill the center of the bolt. No, it's not a bolt, the stud, to relieve a little bit of pressure, and it finally revealed where it was holding on to. But anyway, I just have to align this and weld it, and I got to make a couple end bushings, so I'll be using the nuts. And the one side I'll just weld it. At the other side, this end here, because it's so short, I'll have to cut the actual mount and weld the nut inside here. So it shouldn't be too hard to do. And the other side, I'm just going to weld the nut on the existing support, because there's plenty of room here. So anyway, I'll put this together, and that'll be the front axle. I changed my mind on the second mount. What I'll do instead is I'm going to machine the nut to about 1.25 inches, and that matches the outline of this particular raised section. And I'll just cut this out to 1.25 inches, and is this is the machine bushing I'll be putting in there, and it's a nice tight fit into the support in the frame. So it just needs a little sanding in the frame. That'll fit nicely. So now I got to bore out the original support to fit this and weld it in there. This is one of the deck links. It's obviously quite worn out. You can see it's supposed to be a 5/8 hole, but it's kind of worn out. Same with the front. Oh, sorry, this is the back. There we go. So I'll just weld that up and bring it back to size. Now it's nice and tight. And there's my cell phone. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to fix the seat, and I'm going to try to reproduce this this cap that goes over, will go over the axles, and one of the spindles on the mower deck. It's not quite the right shade, but it is yellow, so like I said, I've never tried this before, so let's see how it works. I'm just using Plastidip in yellow. This is hard to find in the single cans, so you usually try to sell you a 6-pack, which I don't need. So let's see how this works. It may be a big fail, or it may work. I don't know. So here, I guess I'll do the seat first. What I've done previous to this is I took a piece of vinyl fabric, or leatherette, whichever you want to call it, on the inside. I had the seat cover off on the inside, and I bonded it to the underside. Now I'm just trying to fill it in. Another rag. This will take several coats, no doubt. Here we go, all assembled. It's not the same color, but it's pretty close. So at least there's no hole there, so water won't get in. And bottom, all welded and put back together. Safety switch. There you go, ready to install. Here I have the first cap done, first of 3. I got to do 3 of them. 2 axles, actually 2 spindles, and 1 hub for the deck. The spindles for the front. They never had spindles before. It's to cover these guys right here. They were out in the open for as long as I remember. So this time around, I'm going to put covers on them, keep the dirt out. Maybe it'll make them last a little longer. I don't know. I put a little bit of silicone on this thing before I added the dip. This may take some wiggling and jiggling. Looks like it's gonna go. Here we go. We have a new cap. Oops. That should go on the axle, the spindle. Just got to trim this off a little bit. That's fine. Testing the cap on this. Haven't been trimmed yet, so, but it looks like it's a perfect fit. Cool. Now I got well, the deck is all painted, just rattle canned it, nothing special, nothing super duper, because this thing is not going to any shows. No such thing as a lawn garden show. And the bottom is just done with rubberized undercoating. that's it for this build. It's all done. It runs good. The deck is nice and level now. I can adjust it, and before I had run out of adjustment. The seat cover's done. The paint job is just a rattle can paint, nothing special. Let's hopefully I get another 10 years out of it and go from there. Well, thank you for watching, and let's go mow some grass.